Keanu Reeves is considered one of the best actors of his generation, and it's not surprising after he has starred in beloved films from the 1990s such as The Matrix, Speed, and Point Break. However, he had a hard time during the 2000s, thanks to a string of commercial failures. It was his role as John Wick in the 2014 action film of the same name that earned him rave reviews and commercial success, starting one of the most iconic action franchises of recent times. Just as his iconic character, Sylvester Stallone had a spectacular comeback in 2006, when he once again reprised his role as the underdog boxer in Rocky Balboa, the sixth installment of the franchise and one of the most beloved entries of the series. Actually, the script, which Stallone wrote, was inspired by his own struggles with success in the early 2000s, as he had a 3-year hiatus after some failed projects. Rocky Balboa also served as his first directorial effort, making an even more incredible comeback. Jamie Lee Curtis rose to fame as a prominent figure in horror films during the 70s and 80s, earning widespread recognition for her memorable performances in classics like Halloween and The Fog. However, as the years passed, her opportunities in the industry dwindled, leading her to take a hiatus from acting during the 2000s. The release of the legacy sequel, Halloween, in 2018 marked a significant turning point for Curtis, thrusting her back into the limelight and reigniting public interest in her career. Curtis's journey culminated in a remarkable triumph at the Academy Awards, where she received recognition for her role in Everything Everywhere All at Once. One of Irish Best Actors, Colin Farrell has lived many lives in Hollywood. After finding success in Steven Spielberg's science fiction film Minority Report, 2002, he appeared in high-profile roles in films that were a hit or miss, such as Alexander, making him unreliable at the box office. However, he finally found his footing as a performer in Bruges 2008, directed by Martin McDonagh. For his performance, he won his first Golden Globe Award and paved the way for other successful roles for the actor. Eastwood built a strong career thanks to his appearances in iconic roles in westerns like The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, and action films such as Dirty Harry. But by the early 2000s, things had slowed down a bit for him. Then, $1 Million Baby came out in 2004 and changed everything. Eastwood directed and starred in this gripping story about a boxer and her trainer, played by Hilary Swank and Morgan Freeman. The film was a hit, winning lots of awards, including 4 Oscars, with Eastwood nabbing Best Director and Best Picture. Hugh Grant rose to fame in the 1990s as one of the era's leading men, starring in hit romantic comedies like Notting Hill, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and 2 Weeks' Notice. However, from the late 2000s through the mid-2010s, his career took a downturn. It wasn't until his role in the drama, Florence Foster Jenkins, that he won back the critics' favor, with many praising it as the finest performance of his career. From that point forward, Grant, while still occasionally returning to romantic comedies, began to embrace more complex and darker roles. Thanks to his roles in box office hits such as The Mummy series and George of the Jungle, as well as other dramatic turns in films such as God and Monsters or Crash. However, his career had a fall down during the 2000s, as he faced some health problems, as well as the aftermath of an assault against him in the Golden Globes 2003. After leaving Hollywood and focusing in TV roles for a while, Fraser had his triumphal return thanks to Darren Aronofsky's The Whale, for which he won the Oscar as Best Actor in 2023. He then appeared in Martin Scorsese's Killer of the Flower Moon. Ben Affleck found success early in his career thanks to movies such as Good Will Hunting, for which he won an Academy Award for Best Screenplay with Matt Damon, Armageddon, Reindeer Games, and The Sum of All Fears. However, after starring in several critically panned and flopping movies, his career went south. Until he earned praise for his role as George Reeves in Hollywoodland, 2006, for which he won a Volpe Award. After that, he had a resurgence as a director with other movies such as Gone Baby Gone, The Town, and Argo. After building a career in Hollywood with supporting roles in TV shows such as Russian Doll, The Good Fight, Chance, or The Morning Show, Greta Lee's career took a wild turn thanks to her leading role in Celine Song's drama Past Lives. It was Lee's first leading role in a film, and also her first time speaking Korean on camera. If there was any doubt that Lee was a talented performer, her nuanced, emotional portrayal of Nora proved that she deserves bigger things. Kwon, a once famous child star, faded from Hollywood's memory after his big break in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He switched gears to work behind the scenes, choreographing stunts, but struggled to get back in front of the camera. Then, in 2022, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert's innovative film brought him back into the spotlight, earning him an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Since then, he's landed major gigs, like a leading role in the show American-Born Chinese, and a supporting part in Marvel's Loki. Rising to fame in the late 1990s with her breakout role in Jerry Maguire, Zellweger quickly became a household name. She solidified her status as a Hollywood icon with her portrayal of Bridget Jones in the beloved romantic comedy series, as well as other titles such as Chicago and Cold Mountain, for which she won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. However, Zellweger, just like many other actresses in Hollywood, found herself without many good roles as she got older. It was her role as Judy Garland in Judy that brought her back to the business, and also earned her a second Oscar. British actor Robert Pattinson became the late 2000s heartthrob thanks to his role as Edward Cullen in the Twilight Saga, which also earned him worldwide fame. However, the role didn't exactly come with critical acclaim or industry recognition. Thankfully, Pattinson followed his instincts and went on to act in several indie films with some of the greatest directors, slowly earning a reputation as an interesting performer. But it was his performance in the crime thriller Good Time, directed by the Safdie brothers, who shed his former image for once and for all, and led him to other roles such as Tenet and The Batman. Melissa McCarthy started her career in successful TV shows such as Gilmore Girls, Samantha Who, and Mike and Molly. However, she launched her movie career thanks to the success of movies such as Bridesmaids 2011. While she garnered great box office success with comedies such as The Heat 2013 or Tammy 2014, critical acclaim was scarce, with the exception of Spy. But, thanks to her dramatic performance in Can You Forgive Me? 2018, she finally got the recognition that she deserved, even earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. De Niro, widely acclaimed as one of the greatest actors of all time, experienced a slump in the 2000s, where his name became associated with uninspired films. However, his supporting role opposite Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper in David O. Russell's Silver Linings Playbook marked a resurgence, earning him his first Oscar nomination since 1992's Cape Fear, and garnering him some of the best reviews in years. De Niro has since soared to new heights, delivering outstanding performances in Martin Scorsese's The Irishman and Killers of the Flower Moon, which stand alongside his finest work. Zac Efron has his breakthrough with his role as Troy Bolton in the High School Musical series, before transitioning to more mature projects in comedies such as 17 Again, Bad Neighbors, or The Greatest Showman, which were well received. However, some of his most recent films weren't as successful, and he got typecast in typical bro comedies, such as Dirty Grandpa, Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, and more. But in 2023, Efron finally had a triumphal return to drama with The Iron Claw, for which he received critical acclaim. Channing Tatum has been a hard-working actor since the beginning of his career, appearing in several movies such as Step Up, Dear John, G.I. Joe, and more. However, almost all of his roles until 2012 were divided between action hero or romance hero. Until the release of 21 Jump Street. The film, which is a remake of the series of the same name, helped Tatum showcase his comedic side, and finally break the mold of the pretty face. That, along with the release of Magic Mike, a film he also produced based loosely on his own life, helped him consolidate himself as a true movie star. After being one of the most bankable and acclaimed actors of the 1970s thanks to his roles in movies such as Grease and Saturday Night Fever, the latter for which he received his first Oscar nomination, Travolta's career suffered a decline in the next decade. Two of a Kind, Perfect, and Staying Alive were commercial and critical failures. However, he had a comeback when he was casted against type as Vincent Vega in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, 1994. The role that not only helped him earn his second Oscar nomination, but also revived his career. Rising to prominence in the 1990s with her martial arts skills and graceful performances in Hong Kong action films, before transitioning to Hollywood in movies such as Tomorrow Never Dies, Memoirs of a Geisha, and The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon. However, she spent some years in the backseat until she landed a supporting role in the rom-com Crazy Rich Asians in 2016. The movie's success helped her revive her career, and then landed other roles in films such as Last Christmas, Shang-Chi, and, finally, Everywhere All at Once, for which she won the Oscar. Marlon Brando ascended to mega-stardom with iconic performances in classics such as A Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront, solidifying his status as one of the greatest actors of Hollywood's golden age. However, the trajectory of his career took a sharp downturn in the early 1960s, marked by a series of flops and a growing reputation for being challenging to collaborate with. Thanks to Francis Ford Coppola's decision to cast him in The Godfather, followed by memorable roles in Last Tango in Paris and Apocalypse Now, he was able to revitalize his career. Jennifer Lawrence smoothly transitioned from teen idol after starring in The Hunger Games to acclaimed performer thanks to her mature roles in movies such as Silver Lining Playbook, which earned her an Oscar for Best Actress. However, after her win, she went on to choose some uninspired projects, such as Serena, Joy, Passengers, and Red Sparrow. After she took a little break from acting, she came back with the comedy, Don't Look Up, but her true, saving performance was her dramatic role in Causeway. Robert Downey Jr. finally won his first Oscar in 2024 thanks to his supporting role in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. However, the actor's career, and the past decade of film, wouldn't have been what it is today without his role as Tony Stark in 2008's Iron Man. After the actor's problems with addiction and his subsequent recovery, he slowly came back to film thanks to Mel Gibson's help, paying his insurance bond for The Singing Detective. He got other roles in well-received movies like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Zodiac. However, Iron Man also gave him worldwide stardom, his first box office hit, and changed his image for good. Witherspoon was a rom-com queen in the early 2000s thanks to movies such as Legally Blonde and Sweet Home Alabama, before transitioning to more dramatic roles such as June in Walk the Line, for which she won an Academy Award. However, after her win, she had a career downturn with only one box office hit, Water for Elephants. It was the biopic Wild, which finally saw her earning critical acclaim and an Oscar nomination, as well as commercial success. Winslet has always been a brilliant actress, gaining worldwide recognition thanks to her roles in films such as Sense and Sensibility, Titanic, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Revolutionary Road, and The Reader. For the latter, she won the Oscar for Best Actress. However, between 2012 and 2019, her career suffered a downturn, with some of her worst reviews of her career. It was in 2020, thanks to this romantic drama Ammonite, in which she stars alongside Saoirse Ronan, that she had a resurgence. Kristen Stewart started acting as a child, and some of his early films include David Fincher's Panic Room, Into the Wild, and Zathura, a space adventure. Then, she gained worldwide recognition with the Twilight Saga. However, she suffered some blows in her popularity, as the series wasn't exactly well received by critics. Also, her cheating scandal with director Rupert Sanders, Stewart left big-budget productions to work in smaller films. And it was her role in Clouds of Film's Maria, which finally gave her the recognition as one of the best actresses of her generation. Winona Ryder became one of the most beloved actresses of the 1990s thanks to her roles in movies such as Little Women, Edward Scissorhands, Reality Bites, The Age of Innocence, and more. But her image fizzled in the early 2000s, thanks to negative tabloid coverage. It was her supporting role in the drama Black Swan, as the former lead ballerina that Natalie Portman's first rivals, that helped her get back on track. After that, she landed the role of Joyce Byers in Netflix's Stranger Things.